All right, ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back, and we are joined once again by our friend Congressman Tim Huelskamp, Republican from the great state of Kansas. Hello, Congressman.
Hey, Steve. Good afternoon.
Thank you for taking the time, as always, sir. All right, let's get right to it, and I guess we start with, we had a debate here earlier about Obama's actions on Obamacare, and it seems like now the explanation, if you will, for once again delaying the employer mandate and for all the changes to the law since it was passed is that, well, it falls under Treasury because it's the IRS and it's a tax, and so this is Treasury Department doing it, and they're allowed to do it. There's nothing illegal about it. Do you buy that?
I certainly don't. It is quite something to gather people's attention. I do a lot of town halls and say, hey, even President Obama doesn't like Obamacare. He keeps changing it. But it's just not about Obamacare. It's the idea that, rather than a duly elected president of the United States, we have someone who can issue edict after edict and suspend his own law. It's a real threat to the issue of no one's above the law. No one can rewrite the law unless they go through Congress and all that. But here we have a president that simply, day after day, takes his pick, doesn't like this or that law. But I guarantee you there's a close political connection to everything he does and campaign contributions. And that's what most Americans say, hey, we've had enough of this type of stuff. It's time to either follow the law or repeal.
You know, one of the things now that's being talked about, there was a piece of FoxNews.com that companies or businesses that want to get under the limit, you're not allowed to now somehow fire an employee to get under the limit for Obamacare. For instance, if it's firms with 50 to 99, so now if you have 102 or 100 and you want to fire somebody to get under that limit, you got to now swear under a penalty, threat of penalty to the IRS that you didn't fire that person because of Obamacare. Why would you not be allowed to fire somebody because of Obamacare in the first place?
Welcome to big government. The whole idea here is to control more and more of the decisions and make sure government is in every part of your business, every part of your life, and that's why Republicans got to be talking about liberty. Steve, we got to talk about what the alternative is. I just got done finishing a biography on Margaret Thatcher. She faced the same thing in England in the 1970s and the early 80s, where the government was controlling every aspect of their lives. They were bankrupt, their military was in full decline, and businesses couldn't make these decisions, and people were losing their jobs. And we have the same thing going on here. 2 million Americans are going to lose their jobs because of Obamacare, exactly because of this. But, the Democrats are pretty clear, though. They think having a job is a trap.
Right.
And they're saying, hey, it's all right. Now you don't have to worry about having a job. And you know what? When we have an economy that is flatlined for 5 years, we can't afford much more of this here in America.
All right. What about now? There had been some who had hoped, and maybe you still do, and I can't wait to hear your answer to this. John Boehner says tomorrow there'll be a vote on the floor of the House to raise the debt ceiling limit with nothing attached to it. Now, I had talked to several people, you included, I think, who had hoped and said that, yeah, we probably could get something out of the debt ceiling agreement. But I was of the opinion all along that Obama was never going to budge. He would welcome a fight because he would let the government shut down like he did the first time and have you guys get blamed. So how do you feel about Boehner's decision, and how are you going to vote, and do you think it'll pass tomorrow?
Well, actually, they've rushed the vote to the floor today, just in a few hours.
Oh, so it's going to happen today?
Yeah, they're claiming it's because of snowstorm, but I think when the American people are going to find out these guys are going to raise the debt ceiling $700 billion and not cut one dime in spending, not one dime, they're going to be outraged. And not just those who voted for it, but the leadership that has set this up to occur this way. Yeah, I know the president said he would negotiate, but now we have a Republican establishment, Republican leadership, including the speaker, saying we're okay with doing nothing about our spending problem. Americans are looking for solutions, and that's just not rhetoric. We got to do something about this, and here we are putting down the road. They're going to wait till March of 2015 before they're going to cut a dime in spending. And somehow they wonder why people get upset about what's happening in Washington, D.C. today.
Now, this, Congressman, comes on the heels of Boehner, insinuating that there'll be no immigration reform this year, although I've heard skeptics, maybe you buy into this because I think we've talked about this before, saying, well, this doesn't mean that it's dead, because once all the deadlines have passed for people to run for congressional seats and give a challenge challenge to incumbent Republicans, for instance, once that deadline is gone, then Boehner will say, okay, we'll bring up immigration reform, we'll pass it, and I think foolishly think that in 2 years nobody will remember anymore.
Well, I think nobody will remember the ones they're trying to get the votes for. It's a political disaster.
So do you think that's the scenario that's coming?
It's potential. I'm sure they're thinking of that. One of his key former advisors is now lobbying heavily for amnesty. And the guy circulated around Washington for quite a while, and I presume that's what he's proposing. And it would not surprise me. But you know what? That's exactly how you win. That's exactly how you lose an election. And not only, even if you keep the House, Steve, that's exactly how you make certain you can't get a darn thing done. We've got to be bold. We've got to be decisive. We've got to be visionary, not reactive to a president that approval ratings are in the tank. We cower in the corner, and then we lose. Yeah,
no, I'm with you. Just one more, because I don't know if I asked it properly and I didn't get the answer. That's probably my fault. So when this comes to the floor, I mean, this is going to pass mostly today with Democrat votes, and how many Republicans you think will be on board with this?
They're talking 20 or 30, but you know, John Boehner can get 20 or 30 to do anything he would like them to do. But now Nancy Pelosi today is running the floor of the U.S. House. Why do we have a Republican majority when we're bringing things to the floor that 180 Democrats are going to vote, 30 Republicans might vote for it, and all the other Republicans are a no? What exactly did we get with a majority when we're turning over the floor of the House? I know the Speaker has said this gets the monkey off the back of Washington and his fellow Republicans, but my gosh, it puts another $700 billion gorilla on the backs of our children and grandchildren in new debt. It's totally unacceptable, but it's totally what people have come to expect, even of a Republican majority in Washington.
Congressman, thank you, sir, as always, for your time, and stay safe in the snow.
Will do. Thank you.
Take care. Congressman Tim Huelskamp, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Nancy Pelosi is now running the floor of the House. Very interesting. Okay, in the next hour, Nicole Wallace will join us, former communications chief for George W. Bush, senior advisor for the McCain-Palin campaign, and you watch her on Morning Joe on MSNBC. She'll be here. We'll have the panel. Rick will be back, and much more. Newsmax TV.